hello.
Hi, Harriette. Great to be with you.
I am so happy to be with you. And this is my second ever broadcast on Facebook Live with a guest. I've been doing a number of DreamLeapers inspirations over the time that we've been quarantined at home. But this is the second time having a guest. And I'm so excited to have as my guest, Kelly Hall-Tompkins. Welcome to DreamLeapers.
Thank you very much. It's wonderful to be here.
Yeah. So Kelly is a gifted violinist, an award-winning violinist. She performed as Fiddler on the Roof on Broadway, which is just amazing to know that that is true. She is a philanthropist and just quite a gifted musician who connects to many other people in the art world. I met Kelly through a mutual friend and Meredith McCormick, and she was just telling me all these great things about you. So I wanted to make sure I got to talk to you. And Kelly, I have to tell you one funny little story.
Okay.
When I was a child, all the way through high school, I played the violin.
Oh, right.
I played in the All-City Orchestra in Baltimore all the way through, but I was never all that good. I was good enough. But you can be proficient, but to be gifted is a whole nother stratosphere. So I'm very curious for you, when did you know that violin was more than a hobby? When did it happen inside of you, like, this is for me?
The day I picked it up.
Wow. And when was that?
When I was 9 years old. So I think that there were other things that kind of went into the mix of influence, things as diverse as growing up Lutheran and also watching Warner Brothers cartoons on Saturday mornings with the classical music in that. And then there was a day when my elementary school took us to hear the local orchestra, the Greenville Symphony in South Carolina. And that was followed up. And I remember hanging on the balcony, listening. And that was followed up by a string quartet that came to our elementary school. And I said, that's what I want to do. And I had no model.
As a child, you just knew. And I just want to pause for a second, because with DreamLeapers, what I do is to let people understand, by the people I'm interviewing, that dream can come at all different times, including when you are a child. And then, of course, it is, what do you do with it? When the light goes on, what do you do? And what did you do?
Well, fortunately, I have a wonderful mom that has supported me since day one in whatever, she only demanded of me excellence in whatever that was going to be. And she's, spent her career as a psychologist first, and then a computer engineer for IBM second. And she was not, necessarily familiar with a classical music career, but she supported everything that I did. And so we learned together what it meant to prepare for a life, serious life making music. And, I didn't really know about private lessons. I didn't have private lessons until fairly late into the game, probably 4 or 5 years after starting to play in a group class.
You only were playing in school?
In school. And then I went home, and what I called practicing at that time, I didn't really know how to practice. I played for the love of playing. And there was always a carrot in front of me of what I wanted it to sound like and where it did sound like. And I just constantly was moving forward, and that's pretty much how I am today. But
how often, how many hours were you practicing?
At that time, it's hard to say. I wouldn't, I didn't do the things then that I know of now. I think I was driven by passion. And it was not until I got a little bit further in my understanding of what the development of a violinist was that I went very quickly with that kind of thing. Then I practiced hours, several hours in addition to my high school work, and, probably middle school as well. But just as an elementary school student, I don't really remember it in terms of time. So we were introduced to the local youth orchestra, and a wonderful mentor named Dr. Robert Cheesebro said, we would love to have you in our youth orchestra, and you should have private lessons. Here are some, here's someone we can refer you to. And then that person led to that person, and then that person led to auditions for the prestigious national festivals like Tanglewood Institute in Boston, up in the Berkshires. And then I went to the Eastman School of Music, and then the Manhattan School of Music. And yeah, so it's just a question of learning the things that you have to do along the way to develop
relationships are so important. You've mentioned people
yeah.
who were mentors and who could point to what's the great program, because you went to wonderful programs.
Yes.
That you may not have known that coming from South Carolina, to know which is the right place to go.
I was so blessed and lucky in South Carolina. I didn't know, I had a sense to a certain extent that I wanted to be, as soon as I went to Tanglewood, I thought, oh my gosh, I have to go back, and I want to go up there, New York and Boston and all of those big cities. But I had some of the most wonderful teachers in South Carolina. I was so lucky to have had them. They were from those cities in many cases. They were mentors for me, Lenny Schranz at the Fine Arts Center. I was so lucky to have the Fine Arts Center, which was a public arts magnet school, and Rochelle Vetter Huang, who was my violin teacher at the Converse College, and then this youth orchestra. Those things together were such a powerful part of my development, those relationships.
And Tanglewood, was that camp? Do I have that? Is that a camp? Tell us what that is in case people don't know.
Tanglewood is this wonderful place in the most beautiful spot in the Berkshire Mountains, this large rolling hills piece of property that was turned into a music festival with an indoor-outdoor concert hall called The Shed, and also Seiji Ozawa Hall. It's the home of the Boston Symphony in the summertime. There's a camp basically for college students called the Tanglewood Music Center, and there's one for high school students, the Boston University Tanglewood Institute. And I went to that at ages 15 and 16, and it just was the most inspiring and beautiful and wonderful place. I hate that in addition to all concert halls during the pandemic are going to be dark and silent this summer, but it is a magical, wonderful place that was such a powerful part of my development.
And that's during that coming of age time. I have a 16-year-old who's going, oh my God, what am I going to do this summer because I have to be at home? But, for so many young people, that has been a source of inspiration and learning. And so back to being a violinist as a career, because I think for many young people, the idea that you could be a musician at all is sometimes too big of a dream to imagine. To be a classical musician is sometimes so far away from the imagination that people don't go for it. And I'm curious because, you said your mother's so supportive. Was there ever a point when you or your family doubted if this could actually be a money-making career for you?
I never doubted it. That's for sure. I never, despite these wonderful mentors and teachers that I had, I'm not sure where the absolute inviolate conviction came from for what a career model would look like. But I just knew within my gut that's what it had to be. I never considered anything else. Wow. I never want to consider anything else. There's so many things I'm interested in. I love, languages. I speak several languages. I love, science, especially right now. I love medical research. No, I'm not really much of a medical interest, but in science in general, I love that. But there was never really any chance that I would seriously consider those paths. There was something deeper that was resonating in my soul, and I knew it from day one. I think there was a little bit of a just a question, like all parents do, like how's this going to work out? Maybe you need to get a different job and practice on the side. I said nope. I'm not going to do that. I want to play the violin. And that has been my life. And as I said, my mom has been the rock of support that has made that made that all possible. And
I think that for those listening and watching, for you to really understand that if it's burning in your soul, you have to do it. You have to figure it out, and you have to push past fears. You have to work really hard, but you have to work hard for anything.
Yeah.
So why not work hard for your heart's desire?
Absolutely. And I've had many, sometimes when you do interviews like this, people think, oh, everything's been so easy. Not so. And my mom could tell you about that too. I've heard no many, many more times than yes, as particularly at a certain point in my development and applying for grants or doing auditions. There's so many disappointments, but you have to be your own best advocate. You have to believe, and even when the evidence would seem to be to the contrary, or just something is not breaking through in the way that you think it should, or in the timely fashion, you have to be your strongest advocate and just keep pushing forward.
Now, what would you say, Kelly, if you go back in your memory, what was the first job that really resonated for you? Maybe not the absolute first concert, but what was one that really made you know, I'm doing this? Not just I can, because you knew I can from a child, but when it really struck you, this is working and this is why.
You mean a job as a child that I had?
No, as a violinist. Whenever it was.
Well, I love the fact actually that even in high school, this orchestra that had inspired me to first see a real concert, that provided the first concert that I saw live, was the one that I became the youngest member of while in high school. It was a tremendous source of inspiration to me that was my high school job, and that was really the only ever kind of job that I knew, just from the very first moment. I think another thing that I did, maybe as part of that orchestra or maybe as a complete freelance orchestra, I'm not totally sure, but while in high school, I also backed up Gladys Knight. Ooh. And that was, that was really exciting. But yeah, those were some of the things. And, when I was in the junior all-state orchestra, I won the position of concertmaster. And when I was in the senior all-state orchestra, I won concertmaster and the concerto competition. And I thought, this is, these are the things that are starting to confirm and affirm, my voice in this field and in my passions for music. And, no matter what comes, I have to see it through.
And concertmaster, what are the responsibilities of that role?
The concertmaster is the first violinist of the first violin section. And that person will generally, in a professional orchestra, the concertmaster is historically kind of the next leader after conductor for primarily the violin sections, both first and seconds, more generally speaking, the strings, and then somewhat broadly the entire orchestra. So it's a kind of a leadership role in determining the bowings are the mechanics of how we speak the musical phrases, and how you construct those bowings will change how the phrase comes across. So it's the concertmaster's role to kind of organize how that works according to what they think, and also in collaboration with the conductor. Concertmaster tunes the orchestra, and of course, the most fun of all is the concertmaster plays all of the violin solos in the orchestral music.
Oh, well, that's right? Fantastic. Yeah. But also to have developed those leadership skills when you were still in high school is significant.
It was a big part of my high school experience to be concertmaster of my youth orchestra, and to play some of the solos, and do that kind of thing, and play concertos, solos with the orchestra, in front of the orchestra. That's quite a level of responsibility that kids are doing that now too. But it's it's an amazing experience, I think.
And
A life
so
of music.
after high school, you went to the Eastman School.
Yes.
Tell us about the Eastman School, because this is a premier school for artists. And tell us where it is and what you learned there. What were some highlights at the school?
Well, I loved the Eastman School of Music. The highlight was for me studying with Charlie Castleman, one of the preeminent violin soloists and pedagogues of our time. Charlie was a winner of the Tchaikovsky violin competition, and just an overall amazing mentor, pedagogue, and friend. So that was one of the attractions for me. Also, the rigorous education. I knew that I auditioned and applied to 9 schools because I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted for my education. I just knew I wanted to be serious and rigorous, while at the same time being at an extraordinarily high level of musicianship and of musical study. And for me, that was Eastman. I got both. I got to have a very rigorous education in the musical arts, and also in doing my minor in French with the University of Rochester. So yes, Eastman School of Music is in Rochester, New York. I went from South Carolina to Rochester. And the year of my senior graduation in May in South Carolina, it snowed in Rochester. And my mom turned to me and she's like, "Are you sure about this?" So yeah,
time to study.
Exactly. That's exactly right. So I have a nearly Pavlovian experience at this point of seeing snow. It just makes me want to practice and study. When I see snow, I just immediately go into focus.
That's not exactly my experience of snow, I have to tell you, but turning lemon into lemonades.
Right,
I love it. Now, you mentioned having French as a minor. I think I read in your bio, is it 8 languages that you speak?
Yeah, I definitely.
How does that happen?
Well, the first of all, I should say the bottom of the list is not necessarily always on. It takes a little bit of brush up to just sort of get back there. The top of the list is usually there. And I was a Francophile in high school. I became a Francophile in beginning around my sophomore year of high school. And I thought that's all. I thought that's all I was. I was obsessed with French. I remember my French teacher saying, you'll never be able to speak French like a native, not to me personally, but to the class. A French person's always going to know that you're American. And I decided that day, no, I don't accept that. That's not for me. So I just was sort of obsessed about French. And meanwhile, we had these wonderful family friends that were German. And I did not like German at the time. And I wish I had taken advantage of my high school days to actually learn German at that time, because I suffered through it much later when I just became obsessed with it. So that was just more of an interest. I went to Germany as a student at the Eastman School of Music to play in a summer festival. And I just couldn't understand what was going on. And I felt like a fish thrown into the deep end. I mean, a person thrown into the deep end without being able to swim. And I didn't like that experience. I said, this will never happen again. So that, many years later, I started studying German on my own. I went to live in Spain. So that's why I speak Spanish. I went to live in Spain for just 8 months, just under a year. But of course, I needed to learn Spanish for that. By the end of that year, I was doing my taxes in Spanish, and it was, everything was going really nicely. And then let's see, I went on tour with the Orpheus Chamber Orchestra twice to Japan. And I thought, I'm not going to be able to.
Japanese?
Yeah, ちょっと日本語が話します。Yeah, right. So I decided I'm not going to be able to read the signs. I'm going to at least be able to speak. And that was really, really useful. And it allowed me greater access. And they invited me to announce the encores from the stage. And I got applause from the audience for having done that. Let's see, what else is there? I speak a little bit of Russian. That's the only place that I've never been. I went to the Ukraine to be part of the film for Fiddler on the Roof. And I thought, well, I don't want to go there speaking Russian. I've got to speak their language, of course. So I learned, I crammed Ukrainian over 2.5 weeks on the treadmill and then the subway to be able to be somewhat conversant and to be able to explain to the audience at my recital who I was and why I was there. And I was able to do that.
So you have just proven that the stereotype about the American who doesn't know languages does not live in your house anyway.
That's right. That's not live in my house. That's right.
And you know, it is possible if you put your mind to it to learn anything, but it's just not so common in our country for people to know even one additional language rather than many. So it proof that you put your mind to things and go all the way in, which is what it takes.
But I also just love it so much. I think I found early on that it's easy to do things that you love or that you find a way with. But languages, I just love. I thought it was just the one, but it turned out to be, you know, I love languages in general. I love the experience of, you know, being able to go and have a deeper experience with someone in the culture as a result of speaking their language. Like going to Japan, it was, you know, it was just amazing to be able to, especially when Japanese people in Japan see a Western person, they just assume the only you know, syntax between us is smile and nod, and you know. But if we're all walking up the temple steps, and there are a lot of steps, I could say, "Oh, tsukarimashita ne," like it's really tiring, is it? Hi, desu, you know, or it's a, you know, beautiful day today, isn't it? And then suddenly this door opens that wasn't there before. I love that.
Beautiful. Of course. So now let's talk about the language of music. And in particular, you were able to fill a role that was historic for a Black woman, to be Fiddler in Fiddler on the Roof, a huge production on Broadway. And I mean, we're so missing and longing Broadway right now, but you feel how. Talk about the auditions for that role and then performing that role, what it was like.
Well, I was invited to it. I didn't do an audition. Someone who had heard my work, my videos on YouTube that had received over 1 million views from my Imagination project, and then saw me performing in Carnegie Hall, approached me about doing that. And you know, I wasn't sure about it. I hadn't done Broadway before. I had a kind of a more traditional classical career, but I thought this will be, you know, an experience of a lifetime. I really can't, you know, I have to do this. This is something that I have to do. And I was never seen on stage. This was actually the first time in the history of the show that it was a shared role with a dancer and the person creating the violin solos. And typically in the Broadway score, there are not even a lot of violin solos. But for me and my background as a soloist, they wrote many more solos into the score and into the dramatic, you know, for me. So it was one of the most incredible experiences of my artistic life. Not because it was destined to be so, but because I think we had an incredible company of people that were so inspiring, and because I took it as such a beautiful opportunity to grow artistically and to collaborate with the actors and to really dig deep in telling that important story every night. And I found it just to be one of the most artistically satisfying and amazing experiences, to play off of Danny Burstein and Jessica Hecht, who were, you know, Tevye and Golda in that production, the Bartlett Shear production. And to be a soloist every night of the week, it was just incredible.
Now, there's also the reality, which you just said, that you were not seen. How was that for you? Because even though you were having this incredible experience, it was an audible, but an invisible experience. What was that like for your ego? You know, fair question.
It was difficult and also wonderful. It was, I loved being able to support my colleagues on stage that were acting. I loved to be able to react to what they were doing. And I love to have this energy that we can feel, if not see, from the audience. It was a totally unusual thing for me to be giving so much and to perform for so many people that I could not see and they couldn't see me. it was definitely frustrating also. But then, you know, when I was recognized for my playing, I started being featured in the press. Yeah. And then suddenly there was this stretch where, you know, usually at the end of the show, everybody's crowded around the stage door hoping to catch a glimpse or an autograph of somebody that they've just seen. And I would come out, you know, week after week, and no one, you know, they're like looking past me to see who's somebody who was actually in the show, you know. But when the press features started, then there were people who actually knew who I was and like, oh my gosh, she's the fiddler. And I was like, what? Oh, wow. Are you know that?
So that was the icing on top.
It was nice in some ways not to be, of course, I wasn't seen by the public, but I was seen every night by the actors. Mm. So they were the ones watching me. You know, I was on a little bit of a perch so that I was closer to the stage level. And I was a little higher, not such that the public could see me, because we had one of those, I don't know, with a passerelle, we had a stage with, you know, that went beyond the stage, so the pit, and then the part that they could go around the pit. So we weren't right next to the audience like a pit would traditionally be. So I was a little bit on a perch, and the actors were then my audience. They would, you know, they would tell me how much they loved watching me play every night, or there would be those places where we would play off of one another. So I did have an audience that could see me. It just wasn't the ticket buying one.
Fascinating. And you mentioned Carnegie Hall. You have performed there how frequently? What is Carnegie Hall like home for you in a sense?
It's home, and I've played there in so many contexts. I call it the people's house. Mm. And that it just has such an intensely moving and wonderful place in my heart, sort of like Tanglewood. I think you know, it's not only a gorgeous place, it's not only one of the best sounding halls in the world. That's all the technical stuff. But to me, it holds the energy of all the historic and you know, tremendous artistry that has taken place in the building. And I'm beyond thrilled to partner with them in this project that I'm doing with Music Kitchen. I hate that, you know, among other things that have experienced disruption in our lives since the pandemic started, was also our world premiere concert that was to be this Thursday. But as I've been saying, I look forward to the new and improved date that will that will be on the calendar when the world is safe again.
So tell us what Music Kitchen is, because this is your philanthropic work, yes?
Yes. So I created Music Kitchen, Food for the Soul, 15 years ago in 2005, to bring my colleagues that, you know, play around the world, my top colleagues, in concert in homeless shelters, because I realized that not everybody has access to what we do. And you know, the music itself is for everyone. The practice of classical music can be quite restrictive, and there are many organizations that seek to include more people. But you know, the reality of it is that it is mostly closed to people without means. So having seen that, I wanted to take the music directly to them. So I'm really excited that in those 15 years, we've reached an estimated 30,000 clients. We've presented over 100 concerts and over 200 top artists.
And where do you go? Is it in New York? Is it nationally, globally? And how do you find the shelters? How do you organize that?
Well, we have done concerts in about 25 shelters since inception, and the partnerships change and come and go over the years depending on the administrative staff at the time and their interest or involvement in that kind of a program. We typically, the program started in New York City. It's based in New York City. I started a branch of it in Los Angeles as well, when my former teacher and mentor, former concertmaster of the New York Philharmonic, Glenn Dicterow, said that he was moving back to his hometown of Los Angeles and he would like to get involved in Music Kitchen, and could we do something? And I said, well, we don't have Music Kitchen in Los Angeles, but for you, I will make it happen. So we were actually just about to do our concerts with Glenn Dictorow for Music Kitchen when the pandemic happened. So through partnerships, this has become something that presenters know me for. So when I'm engaged as a soloist, one of the ways that we have done concerts for Music Kitchen all over the country and in one internationally is through my concert engagements. So although Music Kitchen has its own series and plays regular concerts, when I get engaged as a soloist, sometimes presenters, orchestras, and concert series are intrigued by the idea of reaching homeless clients for the first time in their history. And so they will engage me to do a Music Kitchen concert in the city that I'm performing in. So in that vein, I've done concerts in Wichita, Kansas, and Oakland, California, and Nashua, New Hampshire, and even Paris, France.
Wow. And so Music Kitchen, does it have its own staff? Is it a 501c3?
It is a 501c3. It is a teeny tiny organization of independent contractors and me. So we have a board, so we've engaged over 200 artists over that time, and, photographers and videographers and designers and web, developers, but all in an independent contract basis.
And approximately how many concerts were you offering annually?
Well, this year, because of the Forgotten Voices project, we were doing 12 concerts, so one a month. And it was for the purpose of, it's been somewhere between, 8 and 12 in the years past. But I think that that is a schedule we would like to continue. But that is, when we get back to playing concerts.
And what is Forgotten Voices?
So in celebration of Music Kitchen's 15th anniversary, I came up with this special project. Since the beginning of Music Kitchen, I've been soliciting free-form comments from the listeners on colored note cards. And I literally just hand them out and invite them to write whatever they feel or nothing at all. And over the years, I've collected probably thousands of these, and I revere them very highly. And I didn't have any designs on what to do with them. They were mainly designed as part of the feedback that I share with donors. But in celebration of Music Kitchen's 15th anniversary, I decided to elevate the words of the shelter clients and engage 15 top composers to select those comments. And we're not talking poetry, we're talking literal comments about our concerts, and set them to a song cycle called Forgotten Voices.
Beautiful.
So we started premiering in the shelter. We give priority access to the shelter clients, one song every month. And we started that in January of 2019. And we almost got through the live premieres in the shelter. We got through 14 premieres. The 15th premiere was supposed to be on March 30th. And we switched to Bridging the Distance. Yeah, we were shut down by even before then. So I'm really proud to share that we will do the 15th premiere as a virtual performance on Thursday, May 21st.
In 2 days.
In 2 days at
Where?
6 p.m.
How can people see that?
We will post that on our Facebook page. It will be what I call a Zoomcast. So there is a Zoom access, and I think that there will be a way to link it to Facebook Live as well. I'm going to investigate that.
So make sure you give it to me, and I'll put it on my page as well. And some people are asking, what is the link for your charity?
It is musickitchennyc.org.
musickitchennyc.org. And people can donate as well. Yes.
Absolutely. We are a small organization doing big and historic things, and we will welcome your donation, especially at a critical time such as this in our organization's history and in our world at the moment. So yes, absolutely.
And I realize, because the whole world as we know it is different, and right now we're in the midst of uncertainty. We don't know what's going to happen. There are almost 40 million people who have let us know they're newly out of work. Charities are suffering. And so here's your chance to say to folks who are watching, why should they give to your charity? What is the value of what your charity is doing at this time?
I think Music Kitchen has served an underserved population and bringing them the humanity that is within all of us through the arts. The project Forgotten Voices, we started before there was a pandemic, but a pandemic really pulls back the veil to really demonstrate how many forgotten voices there are among us. And I think that the project that we are doing, even though we can't go to Carnegie Hall just yet,
Right.
we are elevating the community of people typically who are homeless and who have experienced unforeseen difficulty. Now that extends to all of us, obviously. But this pandemic pulls back the veil on how many voices are forgotten, how many frontline workers are, how many of the clients, how many of the 30,000 shelter clients that Music Kitchen has reached have or will survive this pandemic? That's the question.
Well, and there's going to be plenty more, unfortunately. I mean,
unfortunately, there will be plenty.
Reality. Yeah.
That's the reality. So Music Kitchen is doing groundbreaking and historic work to uplift people in difficult circumstances, and through this historic project to make sure their voices, their stories, their lives are matter and are heard. We will take their voices to center stage at Carnegie Hall. For now, we use the digital platforms to elevate their stories, their existence, and their lives. And I think we really would be most grateful with your support.
Excellent. And then another thing that you are doing is in partnership with a designer whom I know, Yemi Kosiba, who I met through Meredith. He's a bridal designer, and my daughter, who is 16, did her debut as a model in his promotional campaign. So I have a sweet space in my heart for him. Tell me about the project that you are working on together that is for these times.
Yes, we are partnering. Music Kitchen is partnering with Yemi Kosiba, who has graciously agreed to design and render masks that we all must wear now. But these are reusable cloth masks, reusable washable masks. And for every mask purchased from him, he will donate in a one-to-one match directly to our shelter clients that we've been serving, Music Kitchen shelter clients. So I believe we have, and that's up to 100 as supplies lasts. So if you would like your, original Kosiba mask, because I think we're going to be using them for quite some time, you can also, in a one-to-one match like Tom's shoes, you can provide some, one to someone who does not have the means to purchase one.
I was so happy to hear that he was doing that. As with every other industry, the fashion industry is just, I saw yesterday that sales are 90% down, which is crazy. And even the bridal world is primarily on pause. I have 4 friends who were getting married in the month of May. My one friend, who you may be aware of, Elaine Welteroth, did have a virtual wedding on the steps of her home in Brooklyn, and most of us were zoomed in to observe it. But generally, people are waiting. And so, as with Yemi, who's primarily does bridal, and all the other people in the world of fashion who are trying to figure it out, what's next, to have the generosity to create something that everybody needs and to give is something that we applaud. And I actually, Yemi, can you write in this box to tell us where they can go on your website so we can let everybody know how to buy a mask from you? That would be fantastic. And so this week, starting tomorrow, Kelly, you are doing a project. You're performing, I believe, or showing a performance that engages the homeless community. Can you tell us about that?
Yes. So as I was talking about, the Forgotten Voices project is 15 songs, which we give priority access to homeless shelter clients in the premieres before the public can hear them. And I tell that to them every time we go to the shelter. They said, you are hearing this first, and the public hears it second. And one gentleman said once, he says, "You make sure they know that." So consider yourselves told, public.
Very good.
So for the 15th song that we will premiere virtually, we are offering the priority access to the shelter clients tomorrow that we can reach, current and former shelter clients. And on Thursday, we'll do the public premiere of the 15th song. And it'll also include a performance that we did live in a shelter from, I think, January. So it'll have a live performance of several pieces and then the virtual premiere of the 15th song by Kamala Sankaram.
And we will be able to learn about how to access this performance, this Zoom performance, through your website?
Well, I'm going to tell you. Okay, first of all, Yemi has communicated. It is
for Yemi's, because Meredith is giving us the website. So www.kosibah.com, which is KOSIBAH. It's in this box, but I'll say it again, www.kosibah.com. You can go and see the beautiful designs that he makes, and also you can find the masks and purchase the mask for this one offer. Go ahead.
And they're beautiful. I mean, they're interesting fabrics. They're much more interesting than the white and blue that we've been seeing, the sort of more disposable variety. They're interesting, they're beautiful, and they're durable, and they're reusable, which is going to become a factor moving forward.
I have quite a few already. I mean, that's the name of the game.
Yes, exactly. My second one is on the way. So for Thursday's performance, for the Zoom platform, we do have a limit of 300. It's going to be first come, first serve. But I believe that when we link into Facebook Live, we should be able to have a lot more people. So the Zoom ID for those who want to join us on Thursday is 543-929-565.
Okay, say it one more time.
543-929-565. And that is Thursday at 6 p.m.
Next Thursday, that's in 2 days at 6 p.m.
Yeah.
And also, Meredith just put up here for your foundation, musickitchennyc.com.
.org.
Oh, excuse me, .org.
Yeah.
musickitchennyc.org. And so just before you go, Kelly, I'm sure during this time that we've been at home and trying to figure out what's next, you have these things that you're doing, but as you look long term, how are you envisioning to offer your art when we know large live performances will not be happening for the foreseeable future?
That is a very, very difficult thing for our field. Our field is completely shut down from the way that we traditionally offer performances. No one has any answers. I just got off of a presentation that I did for some grantees of the Chamber Music America organization from the chamber music profession and talking to them about all of this. And here's what I know. I know that the world needs music now more than ever. Some of the paradigms that we are familiar with may be shifting for the time being, or maybe even for longer than we might imagine. I am cheering on medical research and medical science for sure that we will have a safe, available, vaccine in the near future. But that is at least, we've been told, at least an 18-month timeline.
Right.
So we're not entirely sure how that works because transmission in the same room with people, it doesn't really just extend to music performances, but really office settings and schools and everything. So we're all affected, but here's what I also know. Our profession, the structure of our profession is generally dependent on peacetime, prosperity, and health. Mm-hmm. But the soul of our profession is to express the entirety of the human experience. Yeah. And it all is part of it. Enslaved Africans developed the the song tradition that became part of the backbone of American music. And, composers wrote pieces in wartime, and other composers wrote pieces in concentration camps. This can be an incredibly, fertile and creative time for us. And there could be things that come from this that would not have otherwise existed. And when we emerge from this, we will emerge stronger.
And my friend Vidura is letting us know that Europe started doing drive-in live concerts. So, the creativity and inventiveness and sometimes drawing on the past to bring to the future, all of these things are going to have to happen in order for us to find our way to each other. Because the thing about humanity is we want to touch each other. We want to see each other, which we're doing right now, but we'd rather see each other in person. Mm-hmm. We there's something about being able to hug another person that is part of the life force. We know that we need those connections, and we have to be patient.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, music, it is a through line. It is something that touches our hearts and souls, even from the beyond. And so we thank you for your artistry and your creativity and your generosity. It's just wonderful. And I'm so happy to be able to talk to you. Let's remind people again, what is your website and what's the website for your foundation?
My website is Kelly Hall-Tompkins, Tompkins, kellyhall-tompkins.com. And my organization, musickitchennyc.org. And
for the masks, it is Kosibah.com, KOSIBAH. And remember, everybody, Thursday, fabulous performance at 6 p.m., right?
6 p.m., we will offer Music Kitchen Bridging the Distance performance, including the 15th premiere of a song by Kamala Sankaran.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you for all that you do. And we will be tuned in on Thursday. Hey, everybody, you've been watching DreamLeapers with Harriette Cole. My honor to be talking to Kelly Hall-Tompkins. Until the next time, have a great day and make it count.
Thank you.